do. It's sort of an explanation, or perhaps an apology, or a vindication, I suppose, of why I'm constantly on about my experiences in Tunisia when it didn't really amount to any more than, say, 3 weeks. When I'd spend enormous amounts of time, far more time in India, in urban India, where most of India's Muslims are concentrated. I've also been to Turkey. I've been sort of on friendly terms with a great number of Muslim people here in Canada, not where I'm living right now, but when I used to live in Toronto. But the refrain that I constantly go on about is my experiences in Tunisia. Now, there's a reason for this. First of all, I was in India during certain historical events that took place, say in 1989, when there was the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, the Hindu nationalists, were attempting to demolish a centuries-old Muslim mosque and replace it by a Hindu temple. There were gigantic riots between Hindus and Muslims, and a large number of people were killed. It was a much bigger event, actually, than even I hesitate to say, but I think even bigger than 9/11. I remember actually there was a curfew, but for some reason foreign tourists were not subject to it, so I could walk at will through a city that had been essentially shut down. I was in Varanasi, which is the holy city of Hinduism, the Rome, I guess, of Hinduism, or Mecca even, I suppose. But it's still a quarter Muslim. I walked directly into the Muslim neighborhoods, and I remember seeing the people there. They knew that maybe the mobs of Hindu people, the Hindu extremists, the Hindus generally dismiss these people as the Saffron Brigade because they dress up as Hindu holy men, but they're nothing more than thugs, really. The police were managing to keep them out, but they expected any moment now the Hindu mobs to smash into their neighborhood, and these Muslims were not going to run away. They were going to fight. And you could just feel the tension. Now, because I was able to go in there, I saw that everyone was watching me. I saw that there was enormous tension in the place. But because of the language barrier, because this was a working class area, India's Muslims actually don't really do very well economically. I was unable to actually talk to people, and I think that the tension of the situation militated against it. And there were all kinds of other situations like that when I was there that I wished that I could communicate with India's Muslims. I was able to do so with certain educated people, but in India the class system is such that there's a very large difference between the experiences of someone who's higher up on the economic ladder and someone who's very low. It's much more pronounced. It's much more like Victorian England, where the classes live in completely different compartments and almost different universes. I was in I was in Turkey the year before 9/11. Turkey has but I was there actually to look at Greek and Roman ruins. Turkey has sort of a checkered experience with Islam, in that not only have the Turks traditionally followed a strange, almost apostate form of Islam compared to, or at least as far as a lot of other Muslims are concerned. In other words, they freely drink alcohol, and their social organization is completely different from that of Arabs, for example. They tend to actually form a cohesive state, whereas most Arab countries are sort of a confederacy of tribes or competing interests or clans or whatever. They're completely different. Plus, there's an enormous language barrier. Turkish is an almost insoluble language for those who don't speak it. And so I was able to sort of observe in India and Turkey what was going on in these countries, but I was unable, to the extent that I was in Tunisia, to go in among the people and ask them what they thought, what their opinions were, what was going on. And I was there at a unique point in history when the two tectonic plates, east and west, were shifting and grinding against each other. I was there to actually see, from their point of view, what was going on. Now, most Europeans or Western tourists that go to Tunisia are there just basically to lay on the beaches and have a good time and drink the excellent Tunisian wines and partake of the excellent Tunisian cuisine and just enjoy themselves and not really pay much attention to what's actually going on. I completely avoided the tourist belt. I was there basically to see Roman ruins, or Carthaginian ruins, actually, even more important to me. I've always been sort of a fan of the French novel Salammbô, and in fact, I'm almost obsessed with that novel even to this day. And I wanted to see what the country itself was like. Now, you go to Tunisia and you start to speak to the people. Most of them speak French, or a great number of them. So if you can speak French, you can actually communicate with the people there. You start to talk about important things, and next thing you know, there's a huge crowd around you, and everyone wants to get your opinion, and you sort of say, listen, believe you me, the West has got the wrong idea about us. Everywhere I went, that was a constant refrain. We're not as evil as you think that we are. We're not all terrorists or that sort of thing, and or just plain friendliness. The Tunisians are an extremely friendly race of people. They like foreigners. They like people that visit their country, and they're just generally nice people. So I was there during a very historically significant period, and I was there to find out about their country. I deliberately sought out Tunisians to have conversations with, and I deliberately solicited their opinions on everything. This is something that not a great number of tourists, which I admittedly was, do. And not only that, because of language, it's not always easy to do it. So, a few weeks in a very small North African country changed my life, and I'll probably be talking about the place until the day I die. Thank you.